is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my fair lady.
Five Nights at Freddy's, one of the most popular and influential horror game franchises, spanning 9 mainline games, way too many novels, and one of the most talented and active fan game communities. Created and maintained by the one and only Scott Coffin all the way up until his retirement in June of 2021, Scott was able to turn this small and simple horror title into a ginormous video game empire. FNaF has always been one of my favorite horror series, as well as one of my favorite game franchises in general. I remember watching Markiplier's Let's Play videos, then playing it myself on my friend's iPad, watching MatPat's Fury videos about the game, and trying to piece together the long and complicated timeline. Sadly, I don't follow the series as much as I did back then, for obvious reasons, but recently I've been getting back into it, rewatching some of Mark's old Let's Plays, and even watching some new YouTubers, like that one furry who talks about FNaF, or that other furry who talks about FNaF. Oh hey look, it's the Ones Up. I've also started getting interested in FNaF fan games again. If you're familiar with the FNaF fan game community, you know just how talented some of these people are, and sometimes the games they produce can match or even exceed those made by Scott himself. And today we are looking at that type of fan game. A fan game so well made and unique, it honestly might be better than most of the mainline FNaF games. The game I'm talking about is Juniors, a FNaF fan game which changes up the gameplay of the original so much, you could genuinely sell it as an original game, if it weren't for the FNaF characters used in the game. The game takes place in this restaurant from FNaF 6's Midnight Motorist minigame. The story involves you, an investigator, going into the Juniors restaurant in an attempt to flush out the evil spirit hiding inside the animatronics. The game hosts a small amount of story characters: the investigator, who looks as soulless as the average Reddit user, Paul Bear, a passive spirit who has as many polygons as Lara Croft did back in 1996, and the Ghost, who looks like the main antagonist in a terrible low-budget horror movie made in 2011. The story basically has you and Paul Bear go in night after night and attempt to defeat the Ghost. And what I mean by that is you do all the work while Paul Bear stands there and does absolutely nothing. So let's take on the gameplay, shall we? In regular Five Nights at Freddy's fashion, Juniors has you staying in an office, unable to move more than just your head. At the start of the night, the Ghost will possess one of the 6 animatronics in the building, and it is your job to find out which of these 6 animatronics is haunted. You do this by closely examining the cameras for clues. This is where Juniors shines as a FNaF game. While other FNaF fan games usually run into the issue of making their cameras useless, I mean even actual FNaF games tend to have this problem, Juniors completely avoids it by making the cameras the main focus of the game, and also making it the main way you survive each night. Instead of surviving to 6 AM, here you have to correctly decide which animatronic is haunted, with each night having the Ghost enter more and more animatronics. When an animatronic becomes possessed, it will begin to show unnatural disturbances and show weird paranormal activity. The game starts it off simple. When the haunted animatronic enters the room, the camera will start to flicker. Then it adds more. When the haunted animatronic leaves the room, it will leave a ghostly handprint on the camera. These handprints can be in the center of the camera, or they can be in a corner, making you search for them, which in turn makes you lose focus of the other animatronics in the room. And the final disturbance, when the haunted animatronic enters the room, the cameras will go out, adding another layer to the gameplay, where you instead have to look for the animatronics that aren't haunted and deduce who's turning off the cameras. Having to constantly keep track of which animatronics are or aren't haunted creates an amazing stressful environment, which can lead to you messing up and getting yourself killed. When you deduce which animatronic is haunted, you have to flip up your little tablet and select the possessed animatronic. If you correctly guess the animatronic, the Ghost will leave and give you some downtime before entering another animatronic. The downtime will get shorter and shorter until it basically doesn't exist in the later nights. This tab here, while allowing you to guess the possessed animatronic, also shows the stability of each animatronic that's in the building. The stability meter later on becomes more important than actually finding the haunted animatronic, as it is the main way you can die in this game. The stability of every animatronic will start at 100, and quickly lower until it reaches 0, at which point you get jump scared. To increase their stability, you have to call in an animatronic and switch out their chip. You can only call in one animatronic at a time, and the whole process is quite slow. If you call in the haunted animatronic, well then I think you already know what's going to happen next. If you try and guess the haunted animatronic and get it wrong, the animatronic's stability will plummet, most likely leading to your death. As the game progresses, the stability meter will become your main focus, and in turn, finding out which animatronics aren't haunted becomes more important than actually finding the haunted one, as finding out which animatronics aren't haunted allows you to call them up for repairs, and believe me, you'll need to be calling them up as soon as possible. Now, let's talk about some of the animatronics. Juniors has 6 main animatronics, and 2 DLC animatronics, not counting any of these as I will be talking about them later on in the video. The 6 main animatronics are Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, Foxy, Balloon Baby, and the Marionette. The first 4 function normally, well as normal as an animatronic can function while being possessed. They cause the screen to flicker, leave handprints, and turn off the cameras. All 4 of them have this weird look to them, this disgustingly horrifying look. They look a lot more human than any of Scott's designs. Freddy looks like your uncle that tries to touch you at every family reunion. Bonnie looks like a retired hipster guitarist from the 80s. Chica looks like a bootleg version of a character from Sesame Street. And Foxy, I mean, he looks pretty normal honestly. Then you have Balloon Baby and the Marionette. They function quite a bit differently. The Marionette can't be seen on the cameras, but she can be heard. Music can be heard in whatever room she is in, and this little speaker icon confirms it. The Marionette is probably my favorite animatronic in this game. She spices up the gameplay and makes it much more enjoyable. She still leaves the same clues as everyone else, however, if she turns off a camera, her music can still be heard inside the room, making your job a lot easier. Balloon Baby on the other hand is a lot less interesting, and probably my least favorite character out of the 6 animatronics. Just like the Marionette, he can't be seen on the cameras. Instead, his icon or stability meter will start to flicker on the tablet device. He's hands down the easiest character to deal with, especially since you'll be using that device all the time in the later nights. I see what the devs were trying to do with him, making him a character you forget to check on and he ends up killing you. But he doesn't really add much to the gameplay and removing him won't really change much. His design on the other hand is fantastic. He's been transformed into this eerie doll baby. They did a fantastic job turning probably the least scary animatronic in the entire franchise into this creepy, abandoned looking child, and it's a shame we don't get to see him on the cameras. The Marionette has also seen quite a big change, turning the lifeless skinny puppet into this creepy doll that just stares into your soul with its red eyes. It's crazy how just by adding a nose and eyes, the character looks completely different. And finally, we have our 2 DLC characters, the Twitch ad system and the box. No joke, I genuinely couldn't find their names. I don't even think they have names, so I'll just call them Twitch ads and the box. The designs of these 2 are nothing special, although I do like the box because it's a box, it looks quite cool. But Twitch ads basically looks like every other FNaF OC. They do change up the gameplay quite a bit. Twitch ads plays ads on the stability meter, you have to turn them off in order to use it. They can pile up very quickly and are quite annoying to deal with. The box will appear somewhere in the room, and it will slowly start to rise. If you don't click on it quick enough, it will lower your animatronic stability, and we all know how that will end. I think the box is what Balloon Baby should have been and is honestly a way better feature. Once you complete the first 5 nights, you speak with Paul Bear one last time before heading out on your final mission. I've skipped most of the story so far cause I don't want to spoil it for anyone, so just know that the final night takes place in a basement, alright? Go play the game yourself if you don't want this next part to be spoiled. Once you enter the basement, a cutscene will play. This cutscene is a reference to the iconic opening cutscene from the FNaF 2 trailer. Once it finishes, we are thrown into a familiar looking place, a recreation of the FNaF 2 office. In fact, this whole night is a recreation of FNaF 2. All the animatronics have been withered and destroyed. The gameplay is pretty much identical to FNaF 2, although it's much easier. You don't need to check the cameras, just wind the music box by clicking that annoyingly small circle, flash Foxy in the hallway, and put on your mask when the animatronics enter your room. The reason this is much easier than the original is because the game gives you way too much time to react when the animatronics enter the room. I love the quick reaction time required to play the original, although I will admit it was a little bit too tight. However, this game gives you too much time to react, making it extremely easy. This final night is split up into 2 phases. The first phase is what I just explained here. The second phase begins at around 2:30 AM. A long cutscene will play where all the animatronics get put on a conveyor belt and get merged into the Mangle. The second phase only has one animatronic, and that is Mangle. An amazing way to make use of one of the most underused animatronics in the entire franchise. Mangle will use her owl tail to peek into your room. You must put on your mask to make it leave. She will also appear in the hallway. You must shine the light on her to make her go away. And finally, the ghost will randomly appear on one of the cameras. You must find it and shine your light on it to make it go away. If left unchecked, the ghost will break the cameras and eventually steal your flashlight battery. This phase also isn't very difficult once you get the hang of it. A sound effect will play once the owl enters the room. Being able to identify it will help you tremendously in beating this phase. Small ghostly hands will appear on the camera where the ghost is, so this is also important to keep track of. Basically just look through the cameras for the ghost, put the mask on if you hear the sound effect, and shine your flashlight in the hallway once in a while, and you should pass this night pretty easily. As a side note, I want to quickly mention how cool Mangle's design is. Using the animatronics to craft this giant monstrosity is an extremely cool idea, and the devs executed it amazingly. I won't spoil what happens in the ending because, well, you can just play the game for yourself. It's free on GameJolt, and there'll be a link in the description to it. But I'll just say the ending is okay. It's nothing special, which leads me to believe they were planning a sequel, but with all the drama that enveloped the game, which almost led to its cancellation, I doubt a sequel will be in the works in the near future. I'm not gonna go into the whole clown fiesta because that's not what this video is about, but for those of you who are interested, I will link a video made by Theft King in the description where he explains the whole thing. Oh my god, I almost forgot about the custom night. Let's try the hardest one. Nah, I ain't doing that.